This is my Field & Stream Shadowcaster. It's a 12'6" kayak, about 100 pounds out of the box, made primarily for fishing. That's mostly what I use it for. I've had it for about 2 seasons now, 2019 and most of the 2020 season. And today I want to show you some of the modifications and upgrades and all that I've done to it. So like I said, I use it pretty much exclusively for fishing. So go over some of the fishing stuff first. I built a standard kind of milk crate setup with 4 rod holders and spray painted it to match the color scheme of the boat, the Field & Stream, which comes in, I think there's 2 different colors. I got the blue camo. So spray painted that to match it to the boat and all. Did the same to the motor, which I'll show in a second. 4 rod holders plus a 5th rod holder at my right hand, and can fit at least 1 tray underneath the seat. Could probably easily do another. Tackle bag in the back, and that's pretty much how we go fishing here. Also got the net, of course, in the one of the stock rod holders. I don't use the other stock rod holder for really much at this point. Okay, so propulsion system, just have the stock paddle, which came not with the kayak, but it's the one that is made by Field & Stream, so you know, recommended for this kayak and all. But doesn't really matter because I do have a motor setup on it. I have a Minn Kota 55-pound thrust, and I've done a lot of the modifications that I've done to this whole thing have mostly been on the motor. So first of all, cut the shaft. I think the shaft was a 48-inch shaft, and cut it down to whatever that is, about 3 feet or so that it has a much lower profile. And also, as I mentioned, I painted that to match the color scheme. The steering mechanism, which is, I think, pretty unique that I came up with this. I used some people's ideas, but made a little bit of adjustments that I haven't seen before. So it uses a cable steering system, which you could see, actually it has kind of an auto centering that I've set up so that when you let go of the steering, it just goes back to center, which is nice. The way that I steer and what makes this pretty unique is the cables cross behind my back, and then they connect to the stock foot pedals on the Field & Stream Shadowcaster. But the way these pedals are made, they lock into place so that when you're paddling, you have something to push off of, and they unlock so that you can reset the position depending on how tall you are. But what I did in this is I keep them unlocked, and that's actually what the cable's connected to. So when I do a foot pedal here, you can see it steers that, and when I let go, it goes back to center. Pull this side, steers the other way, and it goes back to center. And so what I mentioned about the X, or the cross in the back, I haven't seen this, I don't think, on anyone else's, but I really kind of insisted on that when I was thinking about the design, because I wanted it so that when I push with my right foot, the boat turns to the left. So it is you do need a cross somewhere if you're gonna hook up the way that I did on the motor in the back. So this way, when I push with my right foot and my body turns to the left, the boat is also turned to the left, because you can imagine if you want to steer to the left, then you're probably more interested in what's over on the left direction. So let's see, next is the power system. I have kind of a mixed system right now. I have a kind of a small whatever battery, just from Amazon, something simple. I use that to power the fish finder. I'll probably use that as well to power, you know, some USB ports if I want to do something like that. And then for the Minn Kota motor, I have this Amped Outdoors 60 amp hour lithium. Costs something like 400, 500 bucks, that kind of range. But I have not found the limit on this thing. It is it's honestly amazing. I can go out in the Delaware River for 12 hours, have the motor on 5 the whole time, and I don't lose any power, any voltage out of the battery. So very nice, pricey, but to me it's worth it. I hate having to worry about the battery running out, so don't need to worry about that. Also, it's pretty small for, as you can see, for 60 amp hours, it's very small and light, and it leaves a lot of room up in the front hull. Let's see. So that is the battery that powers it. What I also did with the motor, I didn't mention this before, is I cut off the control head and I relocated it to this left kind of hip position. And you can see the leads go back to the motor there. And so this allows me to sit here and control it completely with my left hand. You can see it's on there. So it's off, and I can control it with my left hand. I can fish with my right hand, which with a right hand or left hand retrieve, right hand bait caster, my right hand is just always fishing, reeling with my left, and then adjusting with the left hand on the motor. So anchoring system is just got kind of a cheap standard, whatever this is, 5 pounds or so, fluke anchor, and 2 main upgrades you'll see on a lot of kayaks. Love them both. First of all is an anchor trolley, which allows you to reposition the effective connection point of the anchor to the boat. So if the current's going one way or the other, you could move the anchor trolley and have your boat oriented in whichever way you want it oriented. Second thing is the Anchor Wizard, which is also really nice. Pretty expensive for that. I think it's in the, I don't know, $100 range, but it's a simple device. It's just kind of a crank, but it has a nice clutch plate in it that allows you to kind of open up the tension and tighten down the tension slowly instead of it being all or nothing. So recommend this, even though it is a little bit pricey. It's really nice. Something that I learned about anchors when I set up this kayak I didn't know before is that you actually connect on a fluked anchor like this, you actually connect to the bottom. That's the permanent connection point, which seems counterintuitive, but it actually is. And the reason is you connect to the top of the anchor using a weak kind of temporary connection like this low strength zip tie. And so what that allows you to do is use the anchor like you'd imagine with the flukes digging in. And when you pull it up with the Anchor Wizard, it's finding its way that way. But if you get hung up and you can't disconnect that anchor, if you're really stuck on something, then what this allows you to do with this weak connection is actually just break it off. And then from there, you could pull the anchor back in, and if this thing is even disengaging, then perhaps the flukes are even flattening, and it's going to be much easier to bring it back. And then all you do is just keep some extra zip ties like I do. I should have one in here, or here's one. And you can just re-rig, even if that happens out on the water. But that way, it's very, very unlikely, or much less likely, that you're going to lose your anchor. If you do, have a float or something so that you can come back and find it. So that's the anchoring system. Here's how it winches back up. Okay, let's see. So the fish finder, I have a very basic fish finder. Just a friend gave it to me as a hand-me-down. Thanks, Chris. And I don't know, does temperature and depth.